By the end of the week, you should be able to identify sentence fragments, explain why a fragment is not a complete sentence, and revise a sentence fragment so that it is a complete sentence. Over the last 2 weeks, you've been learning about what makes a sentence a sentence. You've learned that every sentence has one subject and one verb. That verb can either be an action verb, like run or jump, or a to-be verb, like is or are. Every sentence also must express a complete thought in order to be complete. So as we look at sentence fragments, that's another question we're going to be asking. So let's look at a complete sentence right now. Victor sneezed repeatedly. Does it have a subject? Who or what did it in the sentence? The answer to that question is Victor, right? What did Victor do? What's our verb? Victor sneezed. So Victor sneezed is our subject and verb. Now we have to ask the question, is it a complete thought? Victor sneezed repeatedly. Yeah, it's a complete thought. In order for this sentence to be complete, the answer to all three of these questions, does it have a subject, does it have a verb, and is it a complete thought, must be yes. A sentence fragment, on the other hand, answers one of these questions with a no. It either is missing a subject, it's missing a verb, or it's an incomplete thought. Let's look at these sentence fragments and figure out what they're missing. Asking Janice for a tissue to blow his nose. So, does it have a subject? Well, asking sure looks like a verb, but who is doing the asking? Who's our subject? We don't have one. We don't know who is asking Janice for a tissue to blow his nose. This sentence fragment is a sentence fragment because it's missing a subject. During the chemistry test, Victor's nose what, right? We feel like after that we should have something more. Victor's nose what? So let's look and see if the answer to any of these questions is no. During the chemistry test, Victor's nose, does it have a subject? Well, yeah, Victor's nose is going to do something, but we don't know what. It's missing a verb. Because Jalissa wore too much perfume, does it have a subject? Yeah, Jalissa. What did Jalissa do? Jalissa wore. So it has a subject and it has a verb, but is it a complete thought? If I just got rid of this because, and I had a sentence that said Jalissa wore too much perfume, you would say, yeah, it's a complete thought. The moment, however, that I use this word because in the sentence, suddenly it's incomplete. There's something that must come after the sentence in order for it to be considered complete. I might say, because Jalissa wore too much perfume, Victor sneezed. That would work. That would be complete. But because Jalissa wore too much perfume, period, it's incomplete. It's a sentence fragment. Okay, let's look and see if we can distinguish between which are sentence fragments and which are actual sentences. We'll get rid of this fragment here. Which are sentences, which are sentence fragments. He tried to hold it after the teacher glared at him. Well, let's ask our questions. Does it have a subject? Yeah, he is our subject. What did he do? He tried. So it answers the first two questions. Is it a complete thought? He tried to hold it after the teacher glared at him. Yeah, it's a complete thought. We may be concerned or we may be confused about what it is, but it's a complete sentence. It's a complete thought. But the tickle in his nose. So does it have a subject? Yeah, the tickle. But what did the tickle do? It's missing a verb. So we're going to say the first one was incomplete thought. The second one is missing a verb. Blowing his nose repeatedly. Well, we know that has a verb. Blowing is clearly our verb. But what is blowing? We don't know. It's missing a subject. Which annoyed the other students. Well, does it have a verb, annoyed? The other students is not our subject. What's doing the annoying? We don't know. It's missing a subject. This one is also an incomplete thought because of the word which. The Kleenex box was empty. Does it have a subject? Yes, box. Does it have a verb? Yeah, this is one of our to be verbs, was. It was empty. Is it a complete thought? Yes, so this is a complete sentence. Unable to think clearly, Victor laid his head down. Does it have a subject? Yes, Victor. What did Victor do? He laid. Is it a complete thought? Unable to think clearly, Victor laid his head down. Yes, that's a complete sentence. His never-ending cold. Does it have a subject? Yes, cold. But what is the cold doing? This is missing a verb. Okay, let's see if we can fix a fragment now. Now that we can identify which are fragments and which are complete sentences, let's see if we can fix it. How are we going to fix a fragment? In order to fix a fragment, we need to make sure that all of the answers to the questions are yes. So let's come back to the fragments that we looked at first. Asking Janice for a tissue to blow his nose. Remember that with our first fragment, we are missing a subject. We had a verb, asking, but we are missing a subject. So let's see if we can change it and add a subject. What if I said, Victor asked Janice for a tissue to blow his nose. Does it have a subject? Yes, Victor. Does it have a verb? Yes, Victor asked. Is it a complete thought? Victor asked Janice for a tissue to blow his nose. Yeah, it's a complete thought. I've revised this sentence so that the answer to each of these three questions is yes. During the chemistry test, Victor's nose what? Remember, this one is missing a verb. So let's see if we can just add a verb here. During the chemistry test, Victor's nose tickled. Does it have a subject? Yeah, nose. Does it have a verb? What did Victor's nose do? It tickled. Yeah, is it a complete thought? During the chemistry test, Victor's nose tickled. Great, it's a complete sentence. Because Jalissa wore too much perfume. So remember that this fragment had a subject and had a verb, Jalissa wore, but it was an incomplete thought because of the word because. So I have two options here. I can either get rid of because and just have Jalissa wore too much perfume, or I can write because Jalissa wore too much perfume, Victor's nose tickled. All I needed to do was add another part of the sentence so that it sounded complete. Because Jalissa wore too much perfume, Victor's nose tickled. Does it have a subject? Yes, Jalissa. Does it have a verb? Yeah, she wore. Is it a complete thought? Yes, it sounds like a complete thought. Okay, so at this point, you should be able to go back. You can practice this through the formative quizzes that are in Schoology, but you should be able to identify sentence fragments, explain why a sentence fragment is not a complete sentence, whether it's missing a subject, verb, or is not an incomplete or is not a complete thought, as well as revise a fragment so that it's a complete sentence. Okay, enjoy.